Ready to hit the road with your very own car? Here's how to get started in the UK. First, set your budget. Think about what you can afford, including insurance and running costs. Next, decide between new or used. New cars come with warranties, but used cars can save you money. Do your research. Use websites like AutoTrader or Gumtree to compare prices and models. Don't forget to check the MOT history and service record for used cars. It's a must. When you find a car you like, take it for a test drive. Make sure it feels right and listen for any unusual noises. If you're unsure, consider bringing a knowledgeable friend or a mechanic. Lastly, sort out the paperwork. You'll need the V5C registration document and to pay for the road tax. And there you have it. Follow these steps and you'll be driving your dream car in no time.
Hello, guys and girls. Welcome back to UK Dreamers. This is Aman, and in today's video, I'll be talking about a very basic necessity in the UK. How do you buy your car, especially your first car? And the learnings that I've gained through in my time in the UK, and what to do and essentially what not to do. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do it on YouTube. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm posting regular stuff on LinkedIn. Okay, dokie, guys. So many of you who would like to buy the car and thinking what to do, what not to do. So I'll teach you, or not teach you, essentially tell you the ways you can buy the car, and also what you should look out for, what should be the red flags, and what to basically do in order to get it a good deal. So the first and foremost thing, buying it out cash outright, right? So the first car I bought it with cash outright. That time the cars used to be relatively cheaper as well. But yeah, you've got the options. Whether if you are very rich, you can go out to the super like the car market or the car dealers and straight away get a new car, a used car. It's entirely up to you. But most of the people like immigrants or the people, the students, or you may say people who've just started working in the UK usually would go for a used car, and the way to buy those would be either Facebook Market, Gumtree, Auto Trader, and also buying from private sellers. Essentially the car I bought was essentially from a private seller, which I did not know so many things about when I bought it. But yeah, let's talk about the benefits straight away. So you buy the car straight away, there's no monthly payments, and essentially the car is yours. What's the main drawback is you pay a big chunk of money straight away. Okay. And guys and girls, if you're going and buying it from private seller and they say, oh, I've got the book but it's not with me now, that's always a red flag. Okay, because if they don't have the logbook, which is also called V5C, please don't entertain them. They might con you, they might sell you some stolen car or whatnot. So please don't even think of buying those cars. When you're buying outright with cash, there's one more important thing you need to look for: the mileage. Of course, if the mileage has gone over 100,000 miles, don't buy it. Firstly, also, after the mileage, look about the number of owners. You can find the details of the number of owners in the logbook, essentially. So, I mean, if it's been over 5 owners or so, I would usually avoid such cars as well because of the handling and stuff. Always go and check for the previous MOT history. You can go on Google. There's a gov.uk website on this. The good thing about going on to the MOT history is if the car has consistently failed the MOTs, that's the annual maintenance, it's not a good sign essentially. But if the same car you're trying to buy and there are minor faults in it, the bulbs were fused or the tires are worn out, nothing major, that's fairly good. But if they had a major sort of workup done, it's essentially not the most reliable car in that instance, I would say. One more thing, which one of my friends who bought a car, and I also went to buy the car, but I did not know about that time, was that you need to check the category of the cars. Car category essentially is whether your car was written off, as in the car had a major accident and the brokenness, or the car was broken up to an extent that the insurers told that we are going to write off the car. But many of the times the private seller who will sell you these cars will not be telling you these. So it's not good. The reason is, if you're buying that car and you're paying a huge sum of money, I would say just avoid going for the category S, category N. You can have a Google through it. So don't buy the category cars. Always, if you're buying it from a private seller or a small agent, go and look for the category of the cars. I think you can pay between £5 to £10, and it will give you the essential everything, every detail history of the car, and whether it's been written off or not. One more thing to look for is if the car has two keys. When I bought my car, I'll tell you my story. Okay. So I bought this car. I saw the ad on Facebook. It was a Ford Focus automatic, things that I was looking for. It was about £2,000. So, and it was fairly near to my place, because when you've just moved in, you've got so many things, or you don't want to travel too far because your driving isn't that great. You don't want to drive on the motorways or the highways, as you call. So this was fairly near to my place. It's walkable distance, right? So I went in, had a Facebook message with this chap, and he said like, "Yeah, you can come and see the car." So I went in, I saw the car. He showed me the bonnet, switched on the car and everything. The car fairly looked okay, and he showed me that he's got the logbook. So I'm like, okay, this looks fairly. So I bargained up a little with him. He gave me about a few, I think, 100 £150 less. But what I did not look for was the car MOT history. So essentially, this car had failed couple of times, but most of them were electrical works. What I also did not check was the category of the car. Luckily for me, it was not a written off car. And what he essentially told me that he had two keys, but when I went and had a final shake hand with him, he said, "Oh, he's just got one key," which was another red flag. But I would say, okay, I just, regardless, I still bought the car. And afterwards, I transferred the money online to him. This is also, you need to be a little cautious of, if don't give them hard cash, guys. If you've given them cash and they've disappeared, no, sold you something, there's always no proof. But if you do that online, you can always go back to the banks and say, you were duped. There was a mal engagement, so you can always reclaim. I'm not sure that you'll get the money back, but there's a possibility you could reclaim. All right, guys. So this was all about basically buying with cash. As I said, don't buy too expensive ones with these. Always check all of these things as well. The second thing, usually a bit of well, not to say straightforward for us when you recently moved to the country, is hire purchase. So essentially, it's like taking a car on installment. Like many countries would have monthly deductions. Hire purchase is more or less similar thing. But the only good thing with hire purchase is, after the 10-year of your installments is over, you can own the car. So essentially, the car is not yours; it's still with the company which is giving you the installment. And but once the installments are finished, the car is yours. So you'll give them a deposit, you'll give them monthly payments, and benefit is it's flexible. The upfront cost, which is the initial money that you pay, is not that high. It can be somewhere between to £500 to £10,000, depending on the car essentially you're buying, isn't it? Drawbacks is, if you take the monthly installment, the installment tends to be a little higher. Okay, I'll talk about the other one in which the monthly installments can be a little lower, which is called the PCP, which is the personal contract purchase. So similar to hire purchase, but the only difference is you will not be owning the car after the contract term has finished. Okay, so you pay the same, you pay the initial payment. Okay, your monthly payments would be a little less. Like for instance, if you bought a car for say £15,000, okay, the car you liked was £15,000. If you go for the hire purchase, for instance, you've given £3,000 of deposit, your hire purchase, the same monthly installment would be about 325 pounds or so. Whereas you go for PCP, the same thing would be roughly about 225 to 250 pounds. So there is a monthly difference of 70 80 pounds. But yes, what happens in PCP is, after your contract is finished, you need to pay them a bulk sum if you want to keep that car. If you don't want to keep that car, even great, you can exchange the car, get a new car. So it's good in a way, because you still get to move on the cars, you still get to change the cars, and you don't have to hustle about much. But be very mindful. Hire purchase contract, or the PCPs. You have to keep the car in good condition. You have to get them serviced through the authorized agents. You have to get the MOTs, and I'm not even talking about the road tax and insurance. I'll talk it about all later. This is an interesting one which I came to know about 2 years ago. So essentially, it's called 0% APR. So you do not pay any interest. For instance, you bought a car which is of £20,000, you will only pay £20,000. So the tricky thing with this is the deposit, the initial deposit is significantly high. So for instance, you're buying a hire purchase or PCP, your initial deposit for a £20,000 car, maybe for instance, 2,000 to £5,000, depending. But the same car with the 0% APR, they might be asking you 10,000, 12,000 pounds. So your monthly payments would be less, right? So, like for instance, you bought a car, £20,000, you deposit £12,000, your monthly installment would be just coming about £150, which is great, isn't it? And you essentially buy almost new car. Main drawback is the high initial money that you need, essentially. So like if you want to buy a car which is like it's 2024, right? You're buying cars, say 5 6 years old, and you're paying a lot high money for it. Doesn't make sense, guys, because yes, the new cars which is 2 to 3 years old, you still make, because the car has worn out, it needs maintenance and whatnot. The cost is also quite high with the guys who repair the cars and stuff. And yeah, there's no ownership without the balloon payment, as I said. Bulk of payment in the end, after your contract has finished, you pay the contract dealer, and then you can own the car or you can move on. Personal loan. I never knew about this, guys. Okay, so many of the people that I have come across now. So now, the percentage of interest you pay with the cars can be very, very high, because initially we don't know anything about it. But if you take a personal loan, £10,000, for instance, and you go and pay the money to the car and bring the car up front, paying all the money, the interest rate you pay would be less, and you'll directly pay it to the bank. So there is no liaising between a third party. It's directly your bank, your loan, and you've utilized that more to buy a car. So, I mean, drawbacks could be the interest rate may vary, and this might also impact your credit score, which might be needed in a long term, buying your house and whatnot. But yeah, it's actually a great way of buying a car because you don't pay any monthly installments, which is absolutely fine. So you're getting £3,000 a month. You don't have to worry that, oh, £250 would just go into the car thing. But yeah, the interest would be definitely somewhere there. So you might be paying a bit less, but more or less you're still losing money, right? Never buy absolute brand new car, guys. Try to buy some cars which have been used for a couple of months, because the value depreciates very, very rapidly. Leasing is another option. You're just renting out the car. You're not responsible for the car. Just pay monthly and just return the car whenever you want. Like, you don't have ownership. Mileage might be a thing that you need to worry of. If you're saying, oh, I'll be driving 8,000 miles a year, if you go above it, you pay some money. If you under it, absolutely no trouble, guys. Another way of, if you work in the NHS, there's another thing called NHS Fleet Solutions. Fairly fantastic cars, new cars, mostly electric, and the money is deducted pre-tax. So essentially, you might be seeing on your payslip, oh, you're losing £600, but in real terms, you might be losing about £400. And the good thing is, you don't have to worry about the car taxation. You don't have to worry about the maintenance of the car. So fairly good thing, guys. And the subscription, as I said, many of the other cars would give their subscription services. The same thing, monthly, you go, you pay them, you tell them, okay, this is the amount of thing I'll travel. And essentially, it's good for short term, but definitely not good for long term. Buying from auctions. I also did not know about this till recently. One of my friends bought a car. So these cars would have been used by someone or the other. Okay. And for some reason, if they did not pay their mortgage, like the installments, or something happened, so these would be sold online, usually most of the times. Their physical auctions, most of them are still online. So for instance, my friend bought a 2016 Ford. Really good, good interiors, good exteriors, no obvious negative history. MOT history is fine and everything, but the mileage was a bit high, about 80,000 pound, 80,000, on the meter. but he bought it at a very, very good price of £8,000. Absolutely fab car, good features, everything, but he bought it from auction. Trouble with this auction is you can't go and see the car. You can't do the test drives. You can't go and physically. You just go there and see there. Okay, so if there's some drawback of, for instance, something's broken or something's not in the exact very great condition, you might miss it, and you'll have to eventually pay for it. But holding that in mind, there are big companies like which offer PCP. Like I bought my second car from Arnold Clark. Okay. So they sent me a video of the car, interior, exterior, everything. So I like the car. I was like, yeah, deliver it to me. So they brought the car. I went to the showroom and I picked the car. There were few scratches on the tire edges and everything, but I was like, okay, fair enough. But what I did not know was when I opened the car and you see there's a back boot space. So the cushions on the boot space was severely, what to say, scratched. But this was not mentioned, and at that point of time, I thought, oh man, why did I do this? It doesn't look bad. I mean, unless you go and open it, but that was not shown by these guys, and this is a very famous car store. So I mean, you always have to watch for it, guys. That's my take home on this. Online marketplaces, as I said, you can go and look. Like for instance, Auto Trader is the most common one. I also did my car searching on that. So couple of things, with you go with anyone, all of these guys are here to make money. So if you go and buy a car upfront from them, yes, you might save some money. But if you go and buy the car with interest, you will eventually end up paying a lot more money, as I'm doing, guys, because I did not know this. And you can also go and look for small dealerships. Like they're also fairly okay. The cars are well inspected and stuff. But as I said, even the bigger brands, they can have something which they have not disclosed. So always keep a look on what you're doing. And again, try to get look of the car. Try to get a test drive of the car. And these are always helpful, guys. Pre-owned, as I said, more or less this is the same from dealers. Again, these are inspected. Warranties might be there, might not be there. Drawbacks is the cost is usually higher in compared to the private sales. Like something which a private seller is offering with 2,000, these guys would charge 2,500, 3,000 pounds, because they also need to make money. But yeah, the risk is always there. So, guys, summary for buying your first car. If you're fairly new to the UK, you're a student, you are not earning much, you want to buy a simple car just to commute, and eventually looking basically not as a luxury, but as a necessity of life. Consider your budget. Okay, if you've got some cash with you, I would rather say buy it upfront cash. It's always good because that eventually saves money in terms of you losing it to the interest to the companies, right? Also check your ownership preference, whether you want to keep the car for a longer run, whether you just want to switch cars at some point of time. That would make you decide, oh, hire purchase, PCP. If you don't want a very fancy car, as I said, 8 to 10 years old car but in a fairly good condition, try to buy it upfront. You think you don't want to keep the car, you just want to ride it and you want to ride the fancy ones, go for some leasing companies. Different firms might have their different. As I said, if you work for the NHS Fleet Solution is a relatively good deal. Compare deals and financing options. Always, guys. So, no, someone's giving you the interest rate is very confusing. This APR and this that blah blah. I mean, technically, it doesn't make any sense to me. But what I usually do is how much money will I eventually lose? Like if I buy a car for £20,000, if I'm ending up paying 26,000 pounds, I would rather say buy a relatively less expensive one and see how things go. Mileage, as I said, never ever buy a car over 100,000 miles. The main reason is the reliability of the car, because you're making it run at 70 miles per hour on the motorways. It's not a safe option. Try to cut down the number of mileages. Of course, that also indicates the car has not been driven that much, so still less maintenance, I would say. Number of previous owners, as I said, too many owners, don't even look at, just leave it. Previous MOT history, you can go on gov.uk and just check the MOT histories. No major consolidation work done, you can always go for it. Small minor works, just go for it, guys. But yeah, if the categories are there. Oh, one more thing, guys. I knew a gentleman who's basically whose family business was they used to sell the category cars. So as I said, the category cars, it's been written off, so they would do the repairs and everything and sell it upfront at as cash. So essentially, if the same car is available in the market for 10,000 pounds, you would get it 6,000 pounds from them, but it's a category car. But everything's working fine. So you don't need to anything, you don't need to report to anyone as well. The insurance would be a bit different for that, but that's not your responsibility. So that is also another way of buying good cars. So guys and girls, I think I've tried to cover most of the things. Also try to consider the wholesome amount that you would be utilizing in buying and running these cars, because you have the road tax, you have the insurances, and you also have the yearly MOTs and the car servicings, which also would add up to the value of your pocket. In these cases, I really felt one of my friends, he took a car from NHS Fleet Solutions, and it was a very, very awesome BMW i4. And he ended, like, as I said, on the overall salary, it was showing it as 600 pounds. But, at the end, he's driving a fairly new car, which is absolutely awesome. He's not paying anything for the insurance. He's not paying the road tax. He's not paying for the MOT. All, I think so. What's wrong? What's not wrong in it? I would say if you can afford it, definitely go for it. So till then, if you've got any further queries, drop me your questions in the comments. And as I said, guys, follow my videos on YouTube. I do post very often on LinkedIn. So just chase my profile on LinkedIn as well. It's UK Dreamers. You can look for it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers. Bye.